So we've got this view of the mind such that we take in raw sensations, shapes, colors, arrangements, and then use the imagination to filter the sensation and match those sensations up with different concepts. And then what we perceive in our mind is a combination of having these sensations bound up with one concept or another. So when we look at that image of the duck rabbit, whether we see a rabbit or see it as a duck depends on which concept from the understanding has been matched up with that sensation that's coming into, say, the retinas on our eyes. Now, this background picture allows Kant to now talk about different sorts of judgments that we can make with our minds that makes use of this three-part distinction about what's going on in our mind. So he distinguishes three kinds of judgments. So the first kind of judgment is a judgment of agreeableness, and this sort of judgment is just based on the sensations that come in that first stage of our mental processing. And the sorts of things he has in mind here are the sorts of judgments we make when we say, oh, yum yum, chocolate ice cream is delicious. Or Kant's favorite example is Canary wine, this special kind of wine that he used to get from the Canary Islands off the coast of Portugal and North Africa, where he's just like, oh yeah, this is delicious. You're just judging those basic sensations as they hit you initially. Then he's got this second sort of judgments of goodness. Those are based on that third part of our mental processing and are based on the concepts that are in that understanding. So when you judge, for example, that a lawnmower is a particularly good lawnmower, or that a computer program is particularly good at recording videos, or you judge that Panopto, the one that we use at GVSU, is a particularly terrible and bad video recorder, then that is a judgment of goodness. It's based upon your understanding of concepts like what it is to be a video recorder or what it is to be a lawnmower, and then taking, this Panopto recorder or the lawnmower that my neighbor uses and seeing, oh, how well does that fit with my understanding of the concept of what a lawnmower is. And that depends on my understanding of, well, what is it that a lawnmower does? What sorts of goals do I have for a lawnmower? What kinds of interests do I have about, like, cutting my lawn that lawnmower might fulfill? So we've got judgments of agreeableness, judgments of goodness, and then we have these judgments of beauty where we say, oh my gosh, that painting is beautiful. Or we can even judge lots of non-artistic things to be beautiful. We can say, oh gosh, that tree is beautiful. Or, my wife is just such a beautiful person. And Kant wants to know, oh, okay, so how do those judgments of beauty work? So, to understand that, let's first get a little bit more of a grip on what judgments of agreeableness and judgments of goodness are like. So, a judgment of agreeableness, like I said, that takes place in the sensation. So it doesn't depend on how you conceptualize what it is that you are sensing. So I could take a drink of the liquid in this glass, and I could just judge, yes, tasty, that's very agreeable to me. And for Kant, it would not matter whether I was conceptualizing that liquid as Canary wine, or thinking of it as, like, urine, or thinking of it as, cheap boxed wine. It doesn't matter, like, I don't care what it is. It tastes freaking delicious. It's very agreeable. So this is a judgment that's just based on our pure sensation and doesn't depend on how we are conceptualizing it in the understanding. Now, you might pause here and wonder whether we can or do make any judgments like this. In fact, folks have done experiments where if you taste wine, and if you're told that it's really cheap wine, you think, yeah, it's not that great. Whereas if you're told that it's really expensive wine, you think you judge, oh yes, this is really, pronouncedly better than most wine I've ever had. Whereas it's the same wine every time. What's changing is the concepts that you're using in your understanding. So there seems to be experimental evidence indicating that what concept you use in your understanding to think about something like wine, that changes your judgments of how delicious it is or not. So you might wonder whether Kant is correct in thinking that there is any kind of judgment that you can make that blocks out the understanding and just relies on the sensation. But that's one sort of judgment he thinks that we can make. Now, so that's agreeableness. Now there's also goodness. And there, goodness, that's a judgment that Kant thinks takes place in the understanding, way over on the other side here, where you're thinking about the concepts, and those concepts are really central to what's allowing you to make that judgment. So when I take in the sensations of looking at that tablet, I don't know, it's a bunch of random sensations, before I can judge whether it's good or not, if you ask me, is this thing good? The first question you want to ask is, well, what, like, good for what? Like, good as a computer? Or is it a good phone? And I might judge, well, look, it's a really good computer. It's got lots of RAM. It does everything that I want. It's shitty as a phone, though. I try using it as a phone. It doesn't work. The app that's on there for calling, like, always crashes. So I can make a judgment of goodness that it's good for a computer, but bad as a phone. But maybe it's also good as a doorstop. So your judgment depends upon the concepts that you bring to bear on this thing in your understanding. And importantly for Kant, when you bring those concepts to bear, well, you're bringing to bear your own personal ideas about, well, what you want a computer to do, what you want a phone to do, what the purpose of a computer or a phone is. And so you're bringing in your own ideas of what kind of goals or interests you have and what you want something that you conceptualize as a computer to accomplish. Some of us might really want a computer that's just super speedy and super fast. Others of us might not care so much about that as long as it's got a really big hard drive. So our judgments of what makes a good computer are going to be different depending upon our own sort of goals and interests about what we care about in a computer. So now we've got judgments of agreeableness that take place with sensations, judgments of goodness that take place in the understanding. Well, you can kind of guess where judgments of beauty might take place. You might think, aha, only one option left over in the imagination, and you'd be right. I'll come back and give you Kant's account of what's going on when we make a judgment that something is beautiful.